To begin any discourse on politics, it is paramount to affirm the most foundational and truthful principle. Christ is the sovereign king over all. Every individual, family, church, state, and nation owes him allegiance. He rules and reigns over all things and in all realms.
In modern times, we often hear appeals to the so-called separation of church and state, a phrase frequently misunderstood and misapplied. More often than not, it becomes little more than secularism's attempt to pry God's hands away from the very things He creates, owns, and governs. The true meaning of that phrase is not a call to exile religion from politics or God from governance, but rather a recognition of the distinct roles of church and state, each ordained by God as separate spheres of authority.
When Thomas Jefferson referenced the separation of church and state in a letter to the Danbury Baptists, he did so to reassure them that the government would not encroach upon the affairs of the church. It was never meant to imply that the state was free from divine accountability.
The truth is, the state belongs to God. It is His servant, established to uphold justice, rewarding the good and punishing the wicked. Scripture makes this plain in Romans 13 and in 1 Peter 2. And yet, in recent years, Romans 13 has been grossly misused to promote blind obedience to tyrannical mandates. In doing so, the church has often abdicated its prophetic role and grown timid in the face of civic overreach.
It is vital to understand that while the state bears the sword, it does not define morality. God alone does. The state's role is to uphold righteous laws that reflect God's moral order. When it strays from this calling, when it presumes to redefine good and evil, it becomes a tyrant, regardless of its intentions. And when citizens submit to such an unlawful overreach, they partake in idolatry, placing the state on par with, or even above, God.
Where tyranny is permitted to grow, and where a people lose the will to resist, the following traits inevitably will appear. First, regulations suffocate every sphere of life.
Second, taxes rise to oppressive levels.
Third, private property becomes a fading ideal.
Fourth, corruption is baked into bureaucracy.
Fifth, citizens are disarmed while the police become militarized.
Sixth, speech is censored and criticism is feared.
Seventh, leaders operate above the law.
Eighth, the state controls education, health, and welfare, like a meddlesome relative.
To explore these themes with depth and clarity, we are honored to welcome Pastor Toby Sumter and Dr. Glenn Sunshine to Kings and Statesmen.
Toby Sumter serves as pastor at King's Cross Church in Moscow, Idaho, and is a co-host of Cross Politic. A graduate of New St. Andrews College, Toby is a formidable voice in the modern recovery of Christian cultural engagement.
Joining him is Dr. Glenn Sunshine, a retired professor of history, senior fellow at the Colson Center, and a leading scholar in Christian political theology. He is the author of Slaying Leviathan, Limited Government and the Resistance in the Christian Tradition, a timely and incisive work that offers a biblical and historical case for resisting tyranny. Glenn and his wife Lynn enjoy the fruits of multi-generational faithfulness with 2 adult children and a couple of grandchildren.
This is Kings and Statesmen, a show dedicated to fostering thought, policy, and dialogue that shape the American political landscape in the virtues of truth, beauty, and goodness.
And now, to our conversation.